Please help me. He's following me." The words came out broken, desperate. Lily Carter grabbed the stranger's leather jacket with both hands, her whole body shaking. Behind her footsteps echoed through the empty parking garage. Getting closer. Always closer. The man she'd grabbed was massive. Tattoos crawled up his neck. Hell's Angel's patch across his back. The kind of person her mother warned her about. But the footsteps behind her were worse. The biker looked past her shoulder. His eyes went cold, hard, dangerous. "Get behind me," he said quietly. What happened next would change both their lives forever. The fluorescent light above Lily's head flickered twice, casting shadows that made every corner look dangerous. Her shift at the grounded bean had ended 20 minutes ago, but she'd stayed to help Sandra close up. Now she wished she hadn't. Footsteps echoed behind her. Lily didn't turn around. She'd learned not to show fear, not to give them the satisfaction. 8 months of running had taught her that much. 8 months of looking over her shoulder, sleeping with a knife under her pillow, changing her phone number 3 times. The footsteps grew louder. Her car was parked on level 3. She was on level 2. 1 more flight of stairs. That's all she needed. 1 more flight, and she'd be safe. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The keys slipped from her fingers and hit the concrete with a sound that echoed through the empty garage like a gunshot. Lily dropped to her knees, scrambling to grab them, and that's when she heard it. The footsteps had stopped. She looked up. A man stood at the end of the row, maybe 30 feet away. Hood pulled low, hands in his pockets, just standing there, watching. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. "No," she whispered. "Not again." She grabbed her keys and ran. The stairwell door burst open and Lily nearly collided with something solid, a wall of leather and muscle that smelled like motor oil and cigarettes. She stumbled backward, a scream catching in her throat. The man was huge, 6'4" at least, with arms like tree trunks covered in faded tattoos. A full gray beard obscured most of his face, but his eyes were what stopped her cold. They weren't angry. They weren't threatening. They were curious. "Whoa there," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You okay?" Lily glanced behind her. The hooded man had followed. He was coming through the garage door, walking slowly now, deliberately. "Please." The word came out broken, desperate. "Please help me. That man is following me." The biker's expression shifted. Something hard settled behind his eyes as he looked past her, assessing the threat with the practiced ease of someone who'd faced worse. "Get behind me," he said quietly. Lily didn't hesitate. She moved, pressing herself against the cold concrete wall, while the biker stepped forward. His boots made heavy sounds against the floor, deliberate, unhurried, like he had all the time in the world. The hooded man stopped. For a long moment, nobody moved. The garage was silent, except for the hum of fluorescent lights and Lily's ragged breathing. Then the biker spoke again, his voice carrying across the distance. "You lost friend." The hooded man shifted his weight. Lily could see his face now, ordinary features, maybe mid-30s. Nobody she recognized. Not Derek. The relief that flooded through her was so intense, she nearly collapsed. "I'm just walking to my car," the man said, but his voice wavered. "Then walk." The biker took another step forward. "That way." He pointed toward the opposite end of the garage. Away from Lily. Away from the stairs. The stranger's nerve broke. He turned and walked quickly, disappearing around a concrete pillar. His footsteps faded into nothing. Lily's legs gave out. She slid down the wall, her back scraping against rough concrete, and sat there on the cold floor, trying to remember how to breathe. Tears she'd been holding back for months suddenly spilled over. The biker crouched down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "Hey," he said gently. "It's okay. He's gone." "I know." Lily wiped her face with shaking hands. "I know. I'm sorry. I thought... You thought he was someone else." Lily looked up sharply. The biker's eyes held understanding, not judgment. Like he'd seen this before. Like he knew exactly what kind of fear could make a person fall apart over a stranger in a parking garage. "I'm Marcus," he said. "Most people call me Bear." "Lily." Her voice was barely audible. "Lily Carter?" "Well, Lily Carter, you got someone waiting for you at home." "My sister. She's 16. Marcus nodded slowly. "Car here. Level 3. Come on." He stood and offered his hand. "I'll walk you up." Lily hesitated. Everything her mother had ever told her about strangers screamed in the back of her mind. Don't trust people. Don't accept help. Don't. But her mother had also stayed with her father for 15 years, while he broke her down piece by piece. Lily took his hand. Marcus walked beside her in silence as they climbed the stairs. His presence was oddly calming, solid and steady like a lighthouse in rough water. When they reached level 3, Lily spotted her ancient Honda Civic sitting alone under a broken light. "That yours?" Marcus asked. "Yeah. It's not much, but it runs." "Running's what matters." Lily unlocked the door, then turned to face him. "Thank you. For back there. You didn't have to—" "Yeah," Marcus interrupted quietly. "I did." Something in his tone made Lily pause. A weight behind the words. A story she couldn't see. "I work at the Grounded Bean," she said suddenly. "Downtown. If you ever want coffee, it's on me. Whatever you want as long as I'm working." Marcus's weathered face creased into something almost like a smile. "I might take you up on that." He waited until she was in her car engine, running doors locked. Then he raised one hand in a simple wave and walked back toward the stairs. Lily sat there for a full minute, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what had just happened. A Hell's Angel had just protected her from a stranger in a parking garage. A man covered in tattoos and leather had been kinder to her in 5 minutes than Derek had been in 2 years. The world didn't make sense anymore. She drove home in a daze, checking her mirrors every few seconds out of habit. The streets of Ashford were quiet at this hour. Small-town Tennessee settling into evening routines. Porch lights coming on. Families sitting down to dinner. Normal life happening behind closed doors. Lily couldn't remember what normal felt like. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor of a converted house on Maple Street. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen so small you couldn't open the oven and refrigerator at the same time. But it was theirs. Hers and Emma's. The first place that had ever felt safe. Emma was sitting at the kitchen table when Lily walked in, textbooks spread out in front of her. "You're late," Emma said without looking up. "Sandra keep you again." "Yeah." Lily dropped her bag by the door. "Long night." Now Emma looked up, her sharp eyes too sharp for 16, scanning Lily's face. "You've been crying." "I'm fine." "You're lying." Lily sighed and sank into the chair across from her sister. Emma had their mother's cheekbones and their father's stubborn jaw. She'd also inherited their grandmother's gift for seeing through any kind of pretense. "Something happened in the parking garage," Lily admitted. "A guy was following me. It turned out to be nothing, just some random person, but it scared me." Emma's pencil stopped moving. "Did you call the police?" "No, there was this..." Lily hesitated, trying to find the right words. "There was a man there, a biker. He helped me." "A biker?" "I know how it sounds. It sounds insane." Emma set down her pencil. "Lily, You ran away from a parking garage with a strange man. He walked me to my car. That's it. Lily reached across the table and squeezed her sister's hand. I'm okay, really. Emma didn't look convinced, but she let it go. She always let it go eventually. That was their unspoken agreement. Don't push too hard. Don't ask too many questions. Don't force conversations that neither of them was ready to have. They'd been surviving that way for 8 months. There's leftover pasta in the fridge, Emma said, returning to her homework. I already ate. Thanks. Lily stood and walked to the refrigerator, her mind still replaying the moment in the parking garage. The way Marcus had moved calm, deliberate, completely unafraid. The way his voice had carried authority without aggression. The way he'd looked at her like he understood. Who was he? What had made him that way? A knock at the door made them both freeze. Lily's hand tightened on the refrigerator handle. Emma looked up, pencil suspended mid-word. Are you expecting anyone? Emma whispered. Lily shook her head. The knock came again. 3 sharp raps against wood. Lily moved toward the door, her heart climbing into her throat. Through the peephole, she could see the landing outside, empty except for a single envelope lying on the welcome mat. She opened the door slowly, scanning the stairwell. Nobody. Just the envelope, white and plain, with no stamp and no return address. Her name was typed across the front in block letters. Lily Carter. Lily picked it up with numb fingers. The paper felt wrong somehow, too smooth, too deliberate, like it had been chosen specifically to deliver a message. She closed the door and locked it. Deadbolt, chain, every lock they had. Lily, Emma's voice was small. What is it? Lily tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the same block letters typed across the center. Did you really think you could hide from me? The paper fell from her hands. Lily. Emma was beside her now, grabbing her arm. What does it say? Who's it from? But Lily couldn't answer. She couldn't breathe. 8 months of running. 8 months of hiding. 8 months of building something new. And he'd found her anyway. Derek had found her. 3 days later, Lily stood behind the counter at the Grounded Bean, trying to pretend everything was normal. The coffee shop was busy with the morning rush regulars, grabbing their usual orders, business people in suits, tapping impatiently on their phones, college students hunched over laptops. Normal life, normal people, normal problems. Lily envied them all. Order for Michael, she called out, sliding a latte across the counter. Michael Vanilla Latte. A young man grabbed the cup with barely a glance. No thank you, no acknowledgement. Just another transaction and another day. Lily didn't mind. Invisibility was what she wanted now. Blend in. Don't draw attention. Don't give Derek any reason to. The bell above the door chimed. Lily looked up automatically the way she always did, scanning every face that walked through that door. And there he was. Marcus. He looked different in daylight. Less intimidating somehow, though still massive. He'd traded the leather jacket for a worn flannel shirt, but the tattoos still crept up his neck. The scars still marked his knuckles, and his eyes still carried that same watchful intensity. He spotted her behind the counter and nodded once. Morning, he said, approaching the register. I hear the coffee's on you. Lily felt something loosen in her chest. I meant it. What'll you have? Black, large, nothing fancy. Coming right up. She made his coffee herself, taking extra care with the pour. When she handed it across the counter, their fingers brushed briefly. Booth in the corner, Marcus said. Mind if I sit for a bit? It's a free country. He almost smiled. That it is. Marcus settled into the corner booth, back to the wall, eyes on the door. Military positioning, Lily realized. Or prison positioning. Or just the positioning of someone who'd learned to always watch for threats. She knew that positioning. She used it herself. The morning rush faded. Customers came and went. Sandra emerged from the back office to handle inventory, throwing curious glances at the massive biker camped in their corner booth. But she didn't say anything. Sandra was good that way. She minded her own business and expected everyone else to do the same. During Lily's break, she found herself walking toward Marcus's booth. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. "Wouldn't have stayed if I minded." Lily slid into the seat across from him. For a moment, neither spoke. The coffee shop hummed around them, the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of conversations, the clink of ceramic cups. "You came to check on me?" Lily said finally. It wasn't a question. Marcus took a long sip of his coffee. "Something like that." "Why? Because the way you looked in that garage." He paused, choosing his words. "I've seen that look before. On people running from something worse than a stranger in a parking lot." Lily's hands tightened around her own cup. "And what do you know about running enough?" Marcus set down his coffee and met her eyes directly. "I spent 8 years in prison, Lily. When I got out, I ran from everything I'd been. Took me a long time to stop running and start living." The admission hung in the air between them. Lily should have been afraid, should have made her excuses and walked away. A convicted felon sitting in her coffee shop admitting to 8 years behind bars. But something in his voice, the quiet honesty of it, the lack of excuses or justifications made her stay. "What were you in for?" she asked. "Aggravated assault." Marcus didn't flinch from the words. "I hurt people. Bad. I was a different man back then. Angry, violent thought power came from fear." He looked down at his scarred hands. "I was wrong about a lot of things. And now I fix motorcycles." Ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Turns out I'm better at building things than breaking them." Lily studied him, the gray in his beard, the lines around his eyes, the way he held himself like a man who'd made peace with his demons. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you asked." Marcus leaned back in his seat. "And because I'm going to ask you something, and I figured you deserved honesty first." "What's your question?" "That letter you got, the one you haven't told anyone about, who sent it?" Lily's blood ran cold. "How do you know about that?" "Because you've been looking at that door every 30 seconds since you sat down. Because you flinched when the bell rang earlier. Because whatever happened in that parking garage wasn't about some random stranger." Marcus's voice was gentle, but firm. "It was about whoever's been sending you letters." Lily's throat tightened. She wanted to deny it, to brush off his concern, to protect the fragile walls she'd built around her secret. But something about Marcus made walls feel pointless. "His name is Derek," she said quietly. "He was my boyfriend for 2 years. I left 8 months ago." Lily stared at her coffee, watching the steam rise and disappear. "He didn't take it well." Marcus was silent for a moment. "Then, what did he do to you?" The question was simple, direct, and somehow that made it easier to answer. "At first, nothing obvious. Criticism, control. He'd tell me what to wear, who to talk to, where to go. If I argued, he'd get quiet. Cold, like I was being ungrateful for everything he'd done for me." Lily's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. Then the quiet stopped working. So he found other ways to make his point. "He hit you. Once, then twice. Then I stopped counting." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Where is he now?" "I don't know. I moved here to get away from him. Changed my number, my name on social media, everything." Lily finally looked up. 3 nights ago, I found a letter under my door. No postmark. Just my name and a message." "What did it say?" Did you really think you could hide from me?" The words fell between them like stones into still water. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice had changed harder now, with an edge of something Lily couldn't quite identify. "Does he know where you work?" "I don't know." "Does he know about your sister?" "I don't know." Lily's composure cracked slightly. "I don't know anything. That's the worst part. Not knowing what he knows, what he's planning when he's going to— Hey!" Marcus reached across the table and placed his hand over hers. His palm was rough with calluses, warm and steady. "Breathe," Lily breathed. "You're not alone in this anymore," Marcus said. "Whatever he's planning, whatever he thinks he's going to do, he didn't count on you finding help. You don't have to." "I know I don't have to." Marcus withdrew his hand and picked up his coffee again. "But some things, once you see them, you can't unsee. And I see you, Lily Carter. I see what you're carrying, and I'm telling you right now, you don't have to carry it alone." Lily stared at him. This stranger who wasn't a stranger anymore. This ex-con with gentle eyes. This Hell's Angel who'd chosen to stop and help a frightened woman in a parking garage. "Why?" she asked again. "Why do you care?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he answered, his voice was rough with something she recognized as grief. "Because I had a daughter once. Her name was Amy. She was 19 years old when a drunk driver crossed the center line and killed her." He paused, collecting himself. "I was in prison when it happened. Couldn't be there. Couldn't protect her. Couldn't do anything except sit in a cell and know that I'd failed the one person who mattered most." Lily's heart clenched. "Marcus, I'm so sorry." "I can't save Amy," he continued, "but maybe I can help someone else's daughter, someone else's sister. Maybe that's why I'm still here." He met her eyes. "Does that make sense?" It made more sense than anything had in a long time. "Yeah," Lily whispered. "It does." That afternoon, Lily walked to her car with Marcus beside her. He'd insisted, and for once she hadn't argued. The parking garage looked different in daylight, less threatening, more ordinary. Just concrete and painted lines, and the smell of exhaust. "I want you to have this," Marcus said, pulling a card from his pocket. It was simple, just a name and number printed in plain black text. Bear's Garage, Marcus Sullivan, 5555-0147. "Day or night," he said. "Anything happens, anything feels wrong, you call." Lily took the card. "You really think he's coming?" "I think men like Derek don't give up easy." Marcus's expression was grim. "They see losing as unacceptable. They'll burn the world down before they admit someone walked away from them." Speaking from experience, speaking from having been that man. Marcus didn't look away from her surprise. "I told you I hurt people, controlled them, thought I had the right." He shook his head slowly. "Took losing everything to understand what I was, and even then it took years to change. But you did change." "Every day," Marcus said. "Every single day I choose to be different. That's the only way it works, constant choice, constant work." He opened her car door for her. "Derek hasn't made that choice, which means he's still dangerous. And I need you to take that seriously." Lily climbed into her car, the weight of his words settling over her. "I do take it seriously." "Good." Marcus stepped back. "I'll see you tomorrow, same time." "You don't have to." "Tomorrow," he repeated firmly. "Drive safe." Lily watched him walk back toward the stairwell, his broad shoulders disappearing into the shadows. Then she started her car and headed home. Marcus's card clutched in her hand like a lifeline. Emma was waiting when she walked through the door. "There's something you need to see," Emma said. Her face was pale. "In the mailbox. I found it when I got home from school." Lily's stomach dropped. "Another letter?" "No." Emma held up a photograph. Something worse. It was a picture of Lily. Walking into the grounded bean yesterday morning. The timestamp was visible in the corner. 7:47 a.m. On the back, in those same block letters, I see everything. I'm closer than you think. The photograph slipped from Lily's fingers. Derek wasn't just sending threats anymore. He was here, in Ashford, watching. And she had no idea how close. Lily couldn't sleep that night. She sat on the kitchen floor with her back against the refrigerator, Marcus's card in one hand and the photograph in the other. The timestamp burned into her mind. 7:47 a.m. He'd been standing somewhere close enough to capture her face clearly, close enough to see what she was wearing, close enough to reach out and touch her if he'd wanted to. Emma had gone to bed hours ago, but Lily knew her sister wasn't sleeping either. She could hear the soft sounds of movement through the thin walls, the creak of bed springs as Emma tossed and turned. This was supposed to be their fresh start, their safe place. Derek had poisoned it with a single photograph. The sun rose eventually the way it always did, indifferent to the fears of the people beneath it. Lily showered, dressed, and made coffee she couldn't drink. She walked Emma to the bus stop and watched until the yellow bus disappeared around the corner. Then she went to work. Marcus was already there when she arrived. Same booth, same position. Back to the wall eyes on the door. He took one look at her face and set down his coffee. "What happened?" Lily slid into the seat across from him and placed the photograph on the table between them. She didn't need to explain. The image spoke for itself. Marcus picked it up, studied it, turned it over to read the message on the back. His expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. A hardening, a calculation. "When did you get this?" "Yesterday. Emma found it in our mailbox." "He knows where you live?" "Yes." Marcus set the photograph down carefully, like it was evidence at a crime scene, which Lily supposed it was. "I'm calling some friends," he said. "What kind of friends? The kind who know how to handle situations like this." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Brothers I rode with. Some still in the life, some out, all of them solid." Lily's chest tightened. "I don't want anyone else getting hurt because of me." "Nobody's getting hurt." Marcus met her eyes. "Except maybe Derek if he's stupid enough to try something." "Marcus, listen to me." His voice was firm but gentle. "Men like Derek count on isolation. They want you alone, scared, cut off from anyone who might help. That's how they win. But you're not alone anymore. And I'm not going to let him win." Lily wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she could handle this herself the way she'd been handling everything for the past 8 months. But she was tired. So desperately, bone-deep tired of carrying this weight by herself. "Okay," she whispered. "Call your friends." 2 days later, Lily was restocking cups behind the counter when the bell above the door chimed. She looked up automatically the way she always did now, scanning every face that entered. Her blood turned to ice. Derek stood in the doorway. He looked exactly the same. Dark hair, perfectly styled. Expensive watch glinting on his wrist. That smile, God, that smile charming and warm and completely, utterly false. "Lily." He said her name like a prayer, like a promise, like a threat dressed up in tenderness. "I finally found you." Lily's hand tightened on the cup she was holding. Her throat closed up. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet wouldn't move. Derek walked toward the counter, his movements slow and deliberate, savoring the moment, savoring her fear. 8 months, he said softly. Do you have any idea what these 8 months have been like for me, wondering where you were? If you were safe? If you were thinking about me? Stay away from me. Lily's voice came out strangled. Baby, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to bring you home. Derek reached across the counter, and Lily flinched backward so hard she knocked over a stack of to-go lids. See, this is what I mean. Someone's filled your head with lies about me, made you afraid of your own boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend. We never broke up, Lily. You just left, without a word, without giving me a chance to explain. Explain what? Lily's fear was hardening into something else now, something sharp. Explain why you broke my rib. Explain why I had to cover bruises with makeup for 6 months. Explain why I was afraid to breathe too loud in my own apartment. Derek's smile flickered, just for a second. But Lily saw it, the mask slipping. The real Derek underneath. You're being dramatic, he said quietly. You always were dramatic. I'm calling the police. And tell them what? Derek leaned against the counter, casual and confident. That your concerned boyfriend tracked you down because he was worried about you. That's not a crime, sweetheart. That's love. Lily reached for her phone with shaking hands. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Derek's voice dropped to a whisper. My father's firm handles half the legal work in this county. 1 phone call and any complaint you file disappears. Another phone call and your landlord discovers code violations that require immediate eviction. A 3rd phone call and your sister's school gets an anonymous tip about an unstable home situation. Lily froze. That's better. Derek straightened, adjusting his cuffs. Now I'm going to give you some time. Time to think about what you really want. What's best for everyone involved. He pulled a business card from his pocket and placed it on the counter. I'm staying at the Mountain View Inn, room 112. When you're ready to come home, you know where to find me. He turned and walked toward the door. This isn't over, Lily, he said without looking back. It's never over. Not until I say it is. The bell chimed as he left. Lily's legs gave out. She grabbed the counter to keep from falling, her whole body shaking so hard she could barely stand. Lily. Sandra's voice came from somewhere behind her. Honey, are you okay? Who was that man? Lily couldn't answer. She could barely breathe. The photograph was one thing, a letter was one thing, but Derek standing in their coffee shop, threatening her sister, her home, her entire life, that was something else entirely. She fumbled for her phone and called the only number that mattered. Marcus answered on the 2nd ring. What's wrong? He was here. Lily's voice broke. Derek was just here. He knows where I work. He knows where I live. He threatened Emma. Where are you now? The coffee shop. Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming. Marcus arrived in 12 minutes. Lily had never been so grateful to see anyone in her life. He walked through the door like a force of nature, his presence filling the entire space. Other customers glanced up nervously. Sandra stepped back behind the register. Even the air seemed to change when Marcus entered a room. He spotted Lily immediately and crossed to her in 3 long strides. You're okay. I'm okay. But her voice shook when she said it. He just talked. He didn't tell me everything. And they sat in his booth and Lily recounted every word. Derek's arrival, his threats, his father's connections, the business card with his room number. Marcus listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Mountain View Inn, he said finally. Room 112. Marcus, you can't. I'm not going to do anything stupid. He met her eyes. But I am going to make sure he understands that you're not alone. That you have people watching out for you. He'll twist it. He'll make it look like I'm the dangerous one, like you're threatening him. Let him try. Marcus's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. I've dealt with men like Derek before. Rich boys who think money makes them untouchable. They're all the same underneath. Cowards. Lily wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that Derek could be stopped that easily. But she knew better. You don't understand, she said quietly. His father really is that connected. State senator, law firm partners, police captains who golf at his country club. If Derek decides to destroy my life, he has the resources to do it. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call. Tommy, it's Bear. I need you in Ashford. Bring Steve. A pause. Yeah, it's like that. How soon can you get here? Another pause. Good. See you then. He hung up and turned back to Lily. Who's Tommy? She asked. An old friend. Good man. Did 10 years for armed robbery, been clean for 15. He runs a halfway house in Nashville now. Marcus almost smiled. He also happens to be built like a tank and has no patience for men who hurt women. You're bringing in more people. I'm bringing in backup. Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. Lily, I know you're scared. I know this feels impossible. But Derek isn't as powerful as he thinks he is. Men like him, they've never faced real resistance. They've never met people who don't care about their money or their connections. That's about to change. Lily looked at this man, this ex-con, this former Hell's Angel, this stranger who'd become her protector, and felt something she hadn't felt in 8 months. Hope. Tommy and Steve arrived the next morning. They pulled up to Bear's garage on matching Harleys, their leather vests worn and weathered from years on the road. Tommy was exactly as Marcus had described, massive, with arms like sledgehammers, and a face that looked like it had been carved from granite. Steve was smaller, but wiry, with quick eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Lily watched from inside the garage as Marcus greeted them. Bear. Tommy clasped Marcus's hand. Been too long. It has. Marcus turned to gesture Lily forward. This is Lily. She's the reason you're here. Tommy's expression softened as he looked at her. Marcus told us about your situation. We're here to help. Thank you, Lily said. I know you didn't have to. No thanks needed. Tommy's voice was gruff but kind. We've all got people we wish we could have protected. This is our chance to do it right. Steve nodded in agreement. What's the play? Marcus led them inside the garage, where he'd set up a makeshift planning area. A map of Ashford was spread across the workbench, with key locations marked in red Lily's apartment, the coffee shop Emma's school, and the Mountain View Inn. Derek Holloway, Marcus said, pointing to a photograph he'd printed from social media. 28 years old, son of State Senator Richard Holloway, works at his father's law firm when he's not stalking his ex-girlfriend. Daddy's money, Steve muttered. Always the worst. He's been following Lily for weeks, taking photographs, sending threatening letters. Yesterday he showed up at her workplace and made explicit threats against her and her sister. Police? Tommy asked. Won't help. The Holloways own half the department. Course they do. Tommy cracked his knuckles. So what's the plan? First we watch, document everything. Every time Derek shows up somewhere he shouldn't be, we record it. Times, dates, locations. We build a file that's airtight. And then we use it. Marcus's expression was grim. Derek's father might control the local police, but he doesn't control the FBI. He doesn't control the federal prosecutors. And he definitely doesn't control the court of public opinion. Steve grinned. You always did think 3 moves ahead. Had a lot of time to practice. Marcus turned to Lily. Starting today, you're never alone. One of us will be nearby at all times. We won't crowd you. We won't interfere with your life. But if Derek shows up again, he's going to find out real quick that you're not the easy target he thinks you are. Lily looked at the three men standing before her. Ex-cons, former outlaws, men who'd done terrible things in their pasts. Now they were her protectors. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "Don't thank us yet." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "This is just beginning." The first test came sooner than anyone expected. Lily was walking Emma to the bus stop the next morning when a familiar black Mercedes pulled up beside them. The window rolled down and Derek's face appeared. "Good morning, ladies." Emma's hand tightened on Lily's. "That's him, isn't it? The one who—" "Just keep walking," Lily said quietly. "Don't look at him." "Lily, don't be rude." Derek's voice was playful, but his eyes were cold. "I just wanted to say hello to your sister. We've never properly met." "Stay away from her." "Or what?" Derek smiled. "What are you going to do, Lily? Run to your biker friends? I saw them at that garage yesterday. 3 ex-cons planning God knows what." He laughed. "Do you really think they're going to help you? They're criminals, thugs. One phone call, and they're all back in prison." Lily stopped walking. She turned to face him, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "Derek, I'm going to say this once. Leave us alone. And if I don't, then you'll find out what happens next." Derek's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then he recovered. "You've changed, Lily. You used to be so sweet, so accommodating." He shook his head sadly. "We'll talk soon, when you're ready to be reasonable." The Mercedes pulled away. Emma was shaking. "Lily, what are we going to do? He knows where we live. He knows where I go to school. He could—" "Hey!" Lily knelt down to meet her sister's eyes. "Look at me. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I promise." "How can you promise that he's rich? He's connected. He can do whatever he wants." Lily thought about Marcus, about Tommy and Steve, about the photograph taped to the workbench and the plan they were building piece by piece. "Because I'm not alone anymore," she said, "and neither are you." The bus arrived, and Emma climbed aboard with one last worried glance over her shoulder. Lily waved until the bus disappeared around the corner. Then she pulled out her phone and called Marcus. "He just approached us, me and Emma, on our way to the bus stop." Marcus's voice was tight. "Did he touch either of you?" "No, just talked, made threats." "We're recording him tonight. Tommy's been watching the inn. Derek goes to a bar on 5th Street every evening. Stays for about 2 hours. We'll have documentation of his movements by tomorrow." Lily closed her eyes. "Marcus, I'm scared." "I know." His voice softened. "But scared is okay. Scared means you're smart enough to understand what's happening. Just don't let it paralyze you. What if this doesn't work? What if his father really can make everything disappear?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Then, my daughter used to ask me questions like that. What-if questions. I always told her the same thing. What if is a prison. It keeps you trapped in a future that hasn't happened yet. The only thing we can control is what we do right now. So we do the next right thing, and then the next, and then the next. And eventually we look up and realize we've built something that can't be torn down." Lily opened her eyes. The street was quiet. Normal. Just another morning in Ashford. "Marcus, yeah. Thank you. Always. Now go to work. I'll meet you there." Lily walked to the grounded bean with a strange new feeling in her chest. Derek was still out there, still watching, still threatening. But for the first time in 8 months, she wasn't facing him alone. The documentation started paying off within a week. Tommy had photographed Derek following Lily on 7 separate occasions. Steve had recorded him sitting in his Mercedes outside Emma's school for over an hour. Marcus had compiled everything into a file that grew thicker by the day. But Derek was escalating. Lily found out on a Tuesday afternoon when Sandra called her into the back office. Her manager's face was pale, her hands trembling as she clutched a piece of paper. "I don't know how to tell you this," Sandra said quietly. "Corporate called this morning. They're letting you go." Lily's stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "They said there were complaints from customers." Sandra couldn't meet her eyes. "Complaints about inappropriate behavior. Theft, drug use in the bathroom." "That's insane. None of that is true." "I know it's not true." Sandra finally looked up, tears in her eyes. "I've known you for 3 months, Lily. You're the best employee I've ever had. But my hands are tied. The complaints came with documentation, photographs, witness statements." "Photographs of what?" Sandra handed her the paper. It was a printout showing Lily behind the counter, but the image had been altered. Doctored to show her slipping cash from the register into her pocket. "This is fake," Lily whispered. "This is completely fake." "I believe you, but corporate doesn't care. They said if I don't let you go, they'll shut down the whole location for investigation." Sandra's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. I have 12 other employees who depend on this job. I can't. I understand." Lily set down the paper. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "I understand, Sandra. You have to protect your people. I'll give you a good reference. If anyone calls, I'll tell them the truth." "Thank you." Lily walked out of the Grounded Bean for the last time, her apron folded neatly in her hands. The afternoon sun was bright, almost mocking in its cheerfulness. She stood on the sidewalk and stared at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. Derek had gotten her fired. With fake photographs and fabricated complaints, he'd taken away her income, her routine, her small piece of normalcy. And he'd done it without ever showing his face. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "That's just the beginning. Come home, Lily, before things get worse." She didn't respond. Instead, she called Marcus. "He got me fired." "What?" "Derek. He fabricated evidence, got me fired from the coffee shop." Lily's voice was flat, emotionless. The shock was setting in. "He's destroying my life piece by piece." "Where are you?" "Standing outside the shop." "Don't move. I'm coming." Marcus arrived in his truck 10 minutes later. He pulled up to the curb, and Lily climbed in without a word. They sat in silence for a moment, the engine idling. "Tell me everything," Marcus said. Lily told him. The fake photographs, the fabricated complaints, the text message from the unknown number. When she finished, Marcus's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "He's good," Marcus said quietly. "I'll give him that. He knows exactly how to hurt you without ever getting his hands dirty." "What am I supposed to do? I have rent due in 2 weeks. Emma needs... We'll figure it out." Marcus put the truck in gear. "But first we need to talk to someone." "Who?" "A friend. Someone who might be able to level the playing field." They drove across town to a small law office tucked between a barber shop and a dry cleaner. The sign on the door read, "Patricia Reeves, Attorney at Law." Marcus led Lily inside, where a woman in her 60s sat behind a cluttered desk. She had silver hair pulled back in a severe bun and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Bear." She stood and extended her hand. "It's been a while." "Too long, Pat." Marcus shook her hand warmly. "This is Lily, the one I told you about." Patricia turned her gaze to Lily, assessing her with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen it all. "Sit down, dear. Tell me your story." Lily sat and talked. She told Patricia everything starting from the beginning. Derek, the abuse, the escape, the stalking, the threats, and now the firing. Patricia listened without interruption, occasionally jotting notes on a yellow legal pad. When Lily finished, the attorney was quiet for a long moment. "The Holloways," Patricia finally said. "I know them. Richard Holloway tried to buy me out 15 years ago when I was handling a case against one of his clients." She smiled grimly. "I told him where he could put his offer." "Can you help us?" Marcus asked. "The evidence you've gathered is good. Photographs, timestamps, documented harassment. But here's the problem." Patricia leaned forward. "Derek hasn't technically broken any laws that will stick. Following someone isn't illegal unless you can prove intent to harm. Sending threatening letters is hard to prosecute if the language is ambiguous enough. And getting someone fired through fake complaints—" She shook her head. "That's civil, not criminal. You could sue, but it would take years and cost a fortune." Lily's hope crumbled. "So there's nothing we can do?" "I didn't say that." Patricia's eyes glinted. "I said we can't fight him on his terms. But there are other terms. Other battlefields." "What do you mean? Derek's father is a state senator. That means he lives and dies by public perception. Right now, he's positioning himself for a run at the governor's mansion. The last thing he needs is a scandal involving his son." Marcus leaned forward. "You're talking about going public." "I'm talking about leverage." Patricia turned back to Lily. "If we can document a clear pattern of harassment, if we can get other victims to come forward, if we can build a case that's too damaging to ignore, the senator will have a choice. Protect his son and destroy his political career. Or cut Derek loose." "Other victims?" Lily's voice was barely above a whisper. "You think there are others? Men like Derek don't start with one victim. They practice. They refine their techniques. Somewhere out there are other women who've experienced exactly what you're experiencing." Patricia stood and walked to her filing cabinet. "I've been doing this for 40 years. I know the pattern." She pulled out a folder and handed it to Marcus. "I made some calls after you contacted me. There's a woman named Rachel Nguyen. She dated Derek 3 years ago, left town suddenly, and never came back." Lily stared at the folder. "Did you find her?" "Not yet, but I will." Patricia sat back down. "In the meantime, we keep documenting. We keep building our case, and we don't give Derek any excuse to claim he's the victim here." Lily left the law office feeling something she hadn't expected. Not hope, exactly. Something harder, more determined. Derek thought he could break her, thought he could take away everything she'd built until she had no choice but to crawl back to him. He was wrong. The next few days were a blur of activity. Marcus gave Lily a job at Bear's garage, handling the books and answering phones. It didn't pay much, but it was enough to cover rent. Tommy and Steve took turns watching her apartment, their motorcycles parked conspicuously on the street. Derek noticed. Of course he noticed. He showed up at the garage on Friday afternoon. Lily was behind the counter when the door swung open and Derek walked in like he owned the place. He was wearing a tailored suit, his smile sharp and predatory. "So this is where you've been hiding," he said, looking around with exaggerated disgust. "A grease pit run by criminals. Really, Lily? This is what you left me for?" Marcus emerged from the back, wiping his hands on a rag. Tommy appeared from the side door. Steve materialized from somewhere near the tool bench. Derek was surrounded. "You need to leave," Marcus said quietly. "Or what?" Derek laughed. "You'll assault me. Please, I'm begging you to try. My father's lawyers would have you back in prison before sunset." "Nobody's assaulting anyone." Marcus's voice was calm, controlled. "We're just asking you to leave. Politely." "I'll leave when I'm ready." Derek turned back to Lily, ignoring the 3 men closing in around him. "I've been patient with you, more patient than you deserve, but my patience is running out." "Then let it run out." Lily's voice surprised even herself. Steady, strong. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, Derek. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, and underneath it, rage. "You should be," he said softly. "You really should be." "I was afraid for 2 years. It nearly killed me." Lily stepped out from behind the counter, facing him directly. "But fear is a prison, and I'm done being your prisoner." Derek's mask slipped, just for a second. The charm vanished, replaced by something ugly and raw. "You think these people can protect you?" He gestured at Marcus and the others. "They're nothing, nobodies. My father could destroy all of them with a single phone call." "Then why hasn't he?" Lily asked. Derek faltered. "What? If your father is so powerful, if you can make people disappear with a phone call, why am I still here? Why are they still here?" Lily took another step forward. "I'll tell you why. Because your father doesn't know what you're doing." "Does he?" "He doesn't know you've been stalking your ex-girlfriend across state lines. He doesn't know you've been sending threats and fabricating evidence and showing up at workplaces uninvited." Derek's face went white. "What do you think happens when he finds out?" Lily pressed. "When the press finds out Senator Holloway's son accused of harassment and stalking. How does that play in an election year? You wouldn't dare. Try me." The garage fell silent. Derek stood frozen, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. For the first time since Lily had known him, he looked uncertain. "This isn't over," he finally said, but his voice had lost its edge. "Yes, it is." Marcus stepped forward, positioning himself between Derek and Lily. "You're going to leave now. You're going to check out of that hotel. And you're going to go back to wherever you came from. And if I don't, then we release everything we have to every news outlet in the state." Marcus's voice was iron. "Every photograph, every document, every piece of evidence that shows exactly what kind of man you are." Derek looked from Marcus to Tommy to Steve. 3 men who'd seen the inside of prison cells. 3 men who had nothing left to lose. 3 men who weren't afraid of him or his father or his money. "You'll regret this," Derek said. "All of you." He turned and walked out the door. The silence stretched for a long moment after he left. Then Tommy let out a low whistle. "That was something," he said. "Kid's got guts." "She does?" Marcus looked at Lily with something like pride. "How do you feel?" Lily's hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding, but underneath the fear, underneath the adrenaline, there was something else. "I feel like I just took my life back," she said. Marcus nodded slowly. "That's exactly what you did." That night, Lily sat with Emma at their tiny kitchen table, eating pizza and talking about nothing in particular. The apartment felt different somehow, lighter, like a weight had been lifted from the walls themselves. "You seem different," Emma said, studying her sister. "Happier. I stood up to him today. Derek. He came to the garage and I told him I wasn't afraid anymore." Emma's eyes widened. "You did? What happened?" "He left," Lily smiled. "For the first time ever, he was the one who walked away." "Do you think he's really gone?" Lily considered the question carefully. "I don't know. Men like Derek don't give up easily. But I know that whatever happens next, we're not facing it alone." Emma reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I'm proud of you, Lily. I know I don't say it enough, but I am. You've kept us together through all of this." "We've kept each other together." Lily squeezed back. "That's how we survive. That's how we've always survived." The moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. Lily's heart jumped, but she forced herself to stay calm. Derek wouldn't knock. Derek would pound, would demand, would force his way in. She looked through the peephole and saw Marcus standing on the landing. "What's wrong?" she asked as she opened the door. "Did something happen?" "Nothing's wrong." Marcus held up a folder. "But something happened." Patricia found Rachel and Gwyn. Lily's breath caught. The other victim. She's willing to talk. She's been waiting 3 years for someone to believe her. Marcus's eyes met hers. We're building a case, Lily. A real case. And Derek's not going to be able to bury this one. Lily took the folder with trembling hands. Inside were photographs, documents, statements, evidence of another woman's nightmare. When do we start? Tomorrow. Marcus turned to leave, then paused. Get some sleep tonight, both of you. Things are about to move fast. He disappeared down the stairs, his footsteps fading into the night. Lily closed the door and leaned against it, clutching the folder to her chest. Rachel Nguyen. Another survivor. Another voice. Derek had spent years building his perfect image. The charming son, the successful lawyer, the devoted boyfriend. Now that image was about to crack. And Lily was going to be the one holding the hammer. The phone rang at 3 a.m. Lily jolted awake, her heart pounding. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand and saw an unknown number. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then Derek's voice, slurred and angry. You think you've won? You think you can destroy me? Derek, you're drunk. Hang up. I built you, Lily. I made you who you are, and you repay me by running to criminals, by threatening my family. I'm hanging up now. I know where your sister sleeps. Lily's blood turned to ice. Her room is the second door on the right. Window faces the street. Pink curtains. She has a poster of some band on her wall. I've been watching. If you touch her, I don't have to touch her. Derek's laugh was hollow, broken. I just have to wait. Sooner or later you'll slip up. Sooner or later those bikers will get bored and leave. And then it'll just be you and me again. The way it should be. You're sick, Derek. I'm in love. His voice cracked. Why can't you understand that everything I've done because I love you? That's not love. That's obsession. Then I'm obsessed. Something crashed in the background. And I'll be obsessed until the day I die, or until the day you come back to me. Whichever comes first. The line went dead. Lily sat in the darkness, her phone still pressed to her ear. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Derek's words echoed in her mind. I know where your sister sleeps. She got up and walked to Emma's room. Her sister was sleeping peacefully, the pink curtains Derek had described moving gently in the breeze from the cracked window. Lily closed the window, locked it. Then she sat on the floor beside Emma's bed and watched over her until morning. When the sun finally rose, Lily made a decision. No more waiting. No more building cases. No more hoping Derek would just go away. It was time to end this. She picked up her phone and called Marcus. I need everyone at the garage, she said. Now. Lily, what happened? He called me, 3 in the morning. He described Emma's room. He's been watching us sleep. Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Harder. I'll make some calls. Be at the garage in an hour. Lily hung up and started getting ready. Derek wanted a war. She was going to give him one. The garage was full when Lily arrived. Marcus stood at the center, surrounded by faces she recognized and faces she didn't. Tommy and Steve were there, along with 4 other men she'd never seen before. They all had the same look, weathered, hardened, watchful. Men who'd lived through things that left marks. And sitting in a chair near the workbench was a woman. She was small, maybe 5'2", with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, and her eyes kept darting toward the door like she expected someone to burst through at any moment. Lily knew that look. She'd worn it herself for 2 years. Lily, Marcus said, stepping forward. This is Rachel. Rachel Nguyen stood and extended a trembling hand. "I've been waiting a long time to meet someone who'd believe me." Lily took her hand and held it firmly. "I believe you." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "He told me no one would. He said his family was too powerful, that if I ever talked, he'd destroy me. He told me the same thing." Lily guided her back to the chair and crouched beside her. "But he was wrong. We're going to stop him." "How?" Rachel's voice cracked. "I tried to report him 3 years ago. The police wouldn't even take my statement. His father made everything disappear." "Because you were alone." Marcus moved closer. "You're not alone anymore." Patricia Reeves walked through the garage door, her briefcase in hand. She surveyed the room with sharp eyes, then nodded in satisfaction. "Good. Everyone's here?" She set her briefcase on the workbench and pulled out a stack of folders. "Let's talk strategy." The next hour was a crash course in legal warfare. Patricia laid out everything they had. The photographs of Derek stalking Lily, the threatening letters, the fabricated evidence that got her fired, Rachel's testimony about her own experience 3 years ago, phone records, text messages, timestamps. "It's not enough for criminal charges," Patricia admitted. "Not yet, but it's more than enough to destroy his reputation." "How do we use it?" Tommy asked. "Senator Holloway announced his gubernatorial campaign last week. His entire platform is built on family values and law and order." Patricia smiled grimly. "Imagine what happens when voters find out his son has been terrorizing women for years." "You want to go to the press?" Lily said. "I want to give the senator a choice." Patricia pulled out another document. "I've drafted a letter to his campaign. It outlines everything we have and gives him 48 hours to respond. Either he publicly distances himself from Derek and ensures his son gets professional help, or we release everything to every media outlet in the state." Rachel shifted uncomfortably. "What if he retaliates? What if he comes after us? That's what they're for." Patricia gestured at the bikers. "And that's what I'm for. Any legal action the Holloways take will be met with countersuits and public exposure. They're powerful, but they're not untouchable." Marcus stepped forward. "What do you need from us? Eyes on Derek at all times. Document everything he does. If he so much as jaywalks, I want it recorded." And Patricia turned to Lily and Rachel. "And I need both of you to be ready to go public. Your faces, your names, your stories. That's what will make this real." Lily's stomach tightened. Going public meant everyone would know. Her co-workers, her neighbors, Emma's classmates. Everyone would know what Derek had done to her, but they'd also know she'd fought back. "I'm ready," Lily said. Rachel hesitated, then nodded. "Me too." "Good." Patricia closed her briefcase. "I'll send the letter today. In 48 hours, we'll know which way this goes." The letter went out at 4 p.m. By 6 p.m., Senator Holloway's office had called Patricia 3 times. She didn't answer. By 8 p.m., Derek's Mercedes was spotted leaving the Mountain View Inn. Steve followed at a distance, reporting his movements in real time. By 10 p.m., Derek showed up at his father's house in Nashville. The gates closed behind him, and he didn't come out. "He's running to Daddy," Tommy observed. "Classic." Marcus nodded. "The senator knows now. Question is what he does about it." They found out the next morning. A black SUV pulled up to Bear's garage at 9 a.m. sharp. 2 men in suits emerged, followed by a third figure Lily recognized from campaign posters. Senator Richard Holloway. He was taller than she expected, with silver hair and the kind of face that photographed well. His smile was practiced professional, the smile of a man who'd spent 30 years convincing people to vote for him. "Mr. Sullivan," the senator said, extending his hand to Marcus. "I appreciate you meeting with me." Marcus didn't take the hand. "I don't recall agreeing to a meeting." The senator's smile flickered but held. I understand, given the circumstances. He withdrew his hand and clasped both behind his back. I'm here because I believe we can resolve this situation in a way that benefits everyone. Is that what you call it? A situation? Lily stepped forward. Your son has been stalking me for 8 months. He's threatened my sister. He got me fired with fake evidence. I know what my son has done. The senator's voice was quiet but firm. And I'm not here to defend him. That stopped Lily cold. Derek has problems, the senator continued. Problems I've been aware of for some time. Problems I should have addressed years ago. He looked directly at Lily. I failed him, and because of that I failed you, both of you, and he nodded toward Rachel, who stood frozen near the workbench. I'm not here to make excuses or threats. I'm here to make amends. The senator pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is a settlement offer. Generous compensation for both Ms. Carter and Ms. Nguyen. Enough to relocate to rebuild to start fresh. And in exchange, Marcus asked. In exchange you sign non-disclosure agreements. The story never goes public. Derek enters a residential treatment facility. Everyone moves on. Lily stared at the envelope. She could feel its weight from across the room. Enough money to solve all her problems. Enough to give Emma a real future. Enough to make the past 8 months disappear. No. The word came out before she'd fully decided to say it. The senator's eyebrows rose. I'm sorry. I said no. Lily's voice grew stronger. I don't want your money. I don't want your settlement. I want Derek to face consequences. Real consequences, Ms. Carter. I understand you're angry. You don't understand anything. Lily's hands were shaking, but she couldn't stop now. For 2 years, your son made me believe I was worthless, that I deserved every bruise, every insult, every moment of terror. And when I finally escaped, he followed me, hunted me, tried to destroy everything I'd built. She stepped closer to the senator, close enough to see the calculation behind his sympathetic expression. If I take your money and sign your papers, what happens to the next woman? The one after Rachel? The one after me? Does she get a settlement too? Or does she just disappear like all the others? The senator's mask cracked, just for a second. Underneath was something Lily hadn't expected. Shame. I'm trying to protect my family, he said quietly. So am I. Lily gestured toward Emma, who'd been watching from the office doorway. That's my sister. She's 16 years old. She's seen things no kid should see. And she's watched me fight every single day to build us a life worth living. Lily turned back to the senator. Your son doesn't get to buy his way out of this. Not this time. The senator was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I see. He tucked the envelope back into his jacket. I had hoped we could resolve this quietly, but I understand your position. Do you? Marcus stepped forward. Because here's what I understand. Your son is dangerous. He's been dangerous for years, and you've been covering for him because it's easier than dealing with the truth. Mr. Sullivan, I did 8 years in prison, Marcus continued. I hurt people. Bad. And I paid for it. Every day for 8 years I paid. That's what accountability looks like. That's what consequences look like. He pointed at the senator. Your son has never faced a consequence in his life. And until he does, he'll keep hurting people. The senator's composure finally broke. What do you want from me? He's my son. What am I supposed to do? Stop protecting him. Patricia stepped forward, inserting herself into the conversation. Let the legal system work. Let him face charges for what he's done. That would destroy him. No. Lily's voice was firm. That would save him. It saved Marcus. It could save Derek too. But not if you keep shielding him from reality. The senator looked around the room, at Lily, at Rachel, at the bikers who'd positioned themselves near every exit, at Patricia, whose folder of evidence sat ready on the workbench. He was trapped. And he knew it. "I need time," he finally said. "To think, to talk to my wife. You have 24 hours. Patricia handed him her card. "After that, we go public with everything." The senator took the card, studied it for a moment, then turned and walked out. His security detail followed, and the black SUV pulled away in a cloud of dust. The garage was silent for a long moment. "That went better than I expected," Tommy said finally. "It's not over yet." Marcus turned to Lily. "You okay?" Lily realized she was shaking. The confrontation had taken everything out of her, but underneath the exhaustion was something else, something powerful. "I'm okay," she said. "I'm better than okay." "You were incredible." Rachel moved to stand beside her. "I couldn't have done that. 3 years ago when he came after me, I just ran." "Running isn't weakness." Lily took Rachel's hand. "Running is survival. We're just at a different point now." That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She sat on the apartment roof wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. The same stars she'd watched as a child back when the world still made sense. Back before Derek. Before everything. Footsteps on the fire escape made her turn. Marcus climbed onto the roof and settled beside her, his leather jacket creaking in the cold air. "Thought I'd find you up here," he said. "Tommy mentioned you like heights." "I like being able to see what's coming." Lily pulled the blanket tighter. "Hard to be ambushed when you can see the whole world." Marcus nodded. "I get that." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The town of Ashford spread out below them, quiet and ordinary. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of the battles being fought in their midst. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said finally. "Anything. Your daughter, Amy." She felt Marcus tense beside her. What was she like? The silence stretched so long that Lily thought she'd made a mistake. Then Marcus spoke, his voice rough with emotion. "She was everything good I never deserved." He pulled out a worn photograph from his wallet. "This was taken on her 18th birthday. Last photo I have of her." Lily looked at the image, a young woman with Marcus's eyes and a smile that could light up a room. "She's beautiful." "She was." Marcus tucked the photo away. "She visited me every month when I was inside. Never missed once. I tried to tell her to stay away, that I wasn't worth it. She said," his voice broke, "she said that's not how family works." "She sounds amazing." "She was. And I missed her whole life because I was too busy being angry at the world." Marcus wiped his eyes roughly. "When she died, I was in a cell 100 miles away. Couldn't hold her hand. Couldn't say goodbye. Couldn't do anything except sit there and hate myself. Marcus, I'm so sorry. The point is, I can't bring her back. Can't change what I did. Can't undo any of it." He turned to face Lily. "But I can make sure I don't waste whatever time I have left. I can help people who need it. I can be the man Amy always believed I could be." Lily felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "Is that why you helped me, because of Amy?" "Partly." Marcus's voice was gentle. "But also because you reminded me of her. The way you fight. The way you refuse to give up even when everything's stacked against you." He smiled sadly. "Amy would have liked you." "I think I would have liked her too." They sat together until the sky began to lighten. Two broken people finding pieces of healing in each other's presence. "Whatever happens today," Marcus said finally, "I want you to know something." "What? You've already won." He stood and offered her his hand. "No matter what the senator decides, no matter what Derek does, you've already won. Because you stopped running. You stood up. You fought back." He pulled her to her feet. "That's victory, Lily. Everything else is just details." The sun rose over Ashford, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Somewhere in Nashville, Senator Holloway was making a decision that would change everything, and Lily was ready. The call came at noon. Patricia answered on the first ring, listened for 30 seconds, then hung up without a word. When she turned to face the group gathered at the garage, her expression was unreadable. "Well?" Marcus asked. Patricia took a breath. "Senator Holloway held a press conference this morning. He announced that his son Derek is voluntarily entering a treatment facility for behavioral issues. He also announced that he's stepping back from his gubernatorial campaign to focus on his family." Lily's heart stopped. "He's protecting him. He's making Derek look like the victim." "That's not all." Patricia pulled up a video on her phone. "This is from the press conference." She hit play. Senator Holloway stood at a podium, cameras flashing. His voice was steady but strained. "I also want to take this opportunity to personally apologize to 2 young women who were harmed by my son's actions. Lily Carter and Rachel Nguyen showed extraordinary courage in coming forward. They deserve better than what my family gave them, and I am committed to ensuring that Derek faces appropriate consequences for his behavior, including full cooperation with any legal proceedings that may arise." The video ended. Lily stared at the screen, unable to process what she'd just heard. "He threw Derek under the bus," Tommy said slowly. "His own son." "He didn't have a choice." Patricia set down her phone. "We had too much evidence. If he tried to bury this, it would have destroyed him completely. This way, he controls the narrative. Positions himself as a concerned father dealing with a troubled son." "What about charges?" Lily asked. "Will Derek actually face consequences?" "I spoke with the district attorney's office this morning. They're opening an investigation. With the senator's cooperation and our evidence, criminal charges are likely." Patricia smiled grimly. Derek Holloway is about to learn what accountability feels like. Rachel burst into tears. Lily pulled her into a hug, both of them shaking with relief and disbelief. It was over. After 3 years for Rachel. After 8 months for Lily. After all the fear and the running and the sleepless nights. It was finally over. Marcus placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. "You did this, you and Rachel. You refused to be silent. You refused to let him win." Lily looked up at him through tear-blurred eyes. "We did this. All of us. Together." Tommy stepped forward and wrapped both women in a massive bear hug. Steve joined in. Then Marcus. Then Patricia, who pretended to be annoyed but was smiling through her own tears. In that garage, surrounded by ex-cons and outcasts and survivors, Lily felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Truly, completely safe. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. Within a week, Derek was formally charged with stalking harassment and witness intimidation. His bail was set at $500,000, which his family paid immediately, but he was confined to the treatment facility pending trial. 2 more women came forward after the press conference, then 3 more. The pattern Patricia had predicted emerged in devastating detail. Derek had been doing this for almost a decade. He'd just never faced anyone willing to fight back. Lily testified at the preliminary hearing. So did Rachel. So did the other women. One by one, they told their stories. One by one, they stripped away Derek's mask. The judge ordered him held without bail pending trial. "Flight risk," she said. "Danger to the community." When the bailiffs led Derek away in handcuffs, he turned and looked directly at Lily. His eyes were empty, hollow. The charming mask was gone completely, leaving only the broken man underneath. Lily felt no satisfaction, no triumph, just exhaustion and a profound sense of relief. It was really over now. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed, and reporters shouted questions. Lily walked through them with Marcus on one side and Emma on the other. She didn't stop, didn't answer. Just kept walking until they reached the truck. "You okay?" Marcus asked as they climbed in. Lily looked out the window at the chaos they were leaving behind. "I don't know yet. Ask me again in a week." Marcus smiled. Fair enough. They drove home in silence. But it was a different kind of silence now, not the heavy silence of fear and waiting. This was the quiet after a storm, the stillness of survival. Emma reached over and squeezed Lily's hand. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. Lily squeezed back. "I'm proud of us." 6 months passed. Lily stood at the counter of Bear's garage, finishing paperwork, while the afternoon sun warmed her back. The phone rang constantly now. Word had spread about the shop that gave second chances, and people drove from 3 counties away to get their bikes fixed by Marcus and his crew. Emma burst through the door, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. "I got in." Lily looked up. "Got in where?" "The summer journalism program at Vanderbilt." Emma waved a letter in the air, her face glowing. "Full scholarship. They only accept 12 students from the whole state, and I'm one of them." Lily came around the counter and pulled her sister into a tight hug. "Emma, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you." "They said my essay was what sealed it." Emma pulled back, her eyes bright with tears. "The one about survivors. About you." Lily's throat tightened. She'd read that essay. Emma had shown her a draft months ago asking permission to share their story. It had taken Lily 3 tries to get through it without crying. "You wrote that essay," Lily said firmly. "You earned this. I couldn't have written it without you." Emma hugged her again. "Without everything you taught me about fighting back." Marcus emerged from the back, wiping grease from his hands. "What's all the commotion?" "Emma got into the Vanderbilt journalism program," Lily announced. "Full scholarship." Marcus's weathered face split into a rare smile. "Well, look at that. Future reporter in the making." "Future investigative journalist," Emma corrected. "I'm going to write about people who don't have voices. People like Lily was. Like Rachel." "The world needs more of that," Marcus said. "Congratulations, kid." The bell above the door chimed, and Tommy walked in with Steve close behind. They'd become regulars at the garage, helping out when they weren't running Tommy's halfway house in Nashville. "What did we miss?" Tommy asked, sensing the celebratory atmosphere. "Emma's going to Vanderbilt," Marcus said. Tommy let out a whoop that rattled the windows. He lifted Emma off her feet in a bear hug that made her squeal with laughter. "Put me down, you giant! Not until you promise to mention us in your Pulitzer acceptance speech." "Fine, I promise." Tommy set her down, grinning. "That's what I like to hear." The celebration continued into the evening. Someone ordered pizza. Someone else produced a cake that was definitely store-bought but decorated with crooked letters spelling, "Congrats, Emma." The garage filled with laughter and warmth, and the kind of joy that comes from surviving something terrible together. Lily stepped outside for air and found Marcus already there, leaning against his truck and watching the sunset. "Quite a day," he said. "Quite a year." Lily joined him, their shoulders almost touching. "Sometimes I can't believe this is real, that we are actually here, that it's actually over." "Is it over for you?" Marcus asked quietly. "In here." He tapped his chest. Lily considered the question. For months after Derek's arrest, she'd still flinched at unexpected sounds, still checked her locks 3 times before bed, still dreamed about running and never being able to stop. But lately those moments had grown fewer. The nightmares had faded. The constant vigilance had softened into something more manageable. "I think it's getting there," she said honestly. "Some days are harder than others. But yeah, I think it's getting there." Marcus nodded. "That's how it works. Not all at once. Just slowly, day by day, until one morning you wake up and realize the weight isn't as heavy anymore." Voice of experience. 15 years of it. Marcus pulled out his wallet and showed her Amy's photograph again. "I still miss her every day. Still hate myself for not being there. But the hate doesn't control me anymore. It's just part of who I am. Part of my story." Lily looked at the photograph, at the young woman who'd believed in her father even when he didn't believe in himself. "She'd be proud of you," Lily said. "Of who you've become?" Marcus's eyes glistened. "I hope so. I really hope so." They stood in comfortable silence as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sounds of celebration drifted from inside the garage, mixing with the evening chorus of crickets and distant traffic. "I've been thinking," Lily said finally, "about what comes next. And I want to go back to school, finish my degree, maybe become a counselor or a social worker, someone who helps people like me, like Rachel, like all the women Derek hurt." Marcus turned to look at her. "That's a good dream." "It's more than a dream." Lily met his eyes. "I've already applied to the community college. Classes start in the fall." "Lily, that's wonderful. I couldn't have done it without you." Her voice caught. "Any of it. If you hadn't been there that night in the parking garage, you would have found another way." Marcus's voice was firm. "You're a survivor, Lily. With or without me, you would have survived." "Maybe. But surviving isn't the same as living." She gestured toward the garage, toward the light and laughter spilling from the windows. "You gave me this, a family, a future, hope." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "You gave me the same thing. You and Emma and Rachel and everyone else who's come through those doors." He looked at the garage like he was seeing it for the first time. "After Amy died, I thought I was done. Thought the best I could do was just exist until my time ran out. But then you showed up, terrified and brave and refusing to give up." He shook his head slowly. "You reminded me what it feels like to matter, to make a difference." Lily reached out and took his hand. His palm was rough with calluses, warm and steady. The hand of a man who'd done terrible things and spent 15 years trying to make them right. "We saved each other," she said simply. "Yeah." Marcus squeezed her hand. "I guess we did." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Lily sat in the courtroom every day watching as Derek's carefully constructed life was dismantled piece by piece. The prosecution called 7 women to testify. 7 women with the same story. 7 women who'd been told they were crazy dramatic, ungrateful. 7 women who'd believed him until they finally found the courage to believe themselves. Derek's lawyers tried everything. They attacked the witnesses' credibility. They painted Derek as a victim of manipulation. They blamed his behavior on mental illness, on pressure from his father, on anything except Derek himself. But the evidence was overwhelming. The photographs, the letters, the phone records, the testimony, all of it pointing to the same inescapable truth. Derek Holloway was guilty. The jury took less than 4 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all counts. When the foreman read the decision, something broke inside Derek. Lily watched it happen. Watched the last shreds of his confidence crumble. Watched him turn to look at his father in the gallery, searching for the rescue that had always come before. Senator Holloway looked away. Derek was sentenced to 5 years in prison with mandatory participation in a behavioral intervention program. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough for what he'd done. But it was something. It was accountability. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed the survivors. Lily had prepared a statement, but when the microphones were shoved in her face, different words came out. I want to talk to the women who are watching this right now. The women who are trapped in relationships like I was. The women who think no one will believe them. The women who think they're alone. She paused, gathering herself. You're not alone. You're not crazy, and you're not trapped. There is a way out. There are people who will help you. All you have to do is take the first step. Rachel stepped up beside her. We didn't do this alone. We had friends who believed us, a lawyer who fought for us, a community that protected us. She looked at Marcus, Tommy. Steve and the others gathered nearby. Heroes don't always look like what you expect. Sometimes they're the last people you'd think to ask for help. The cameras kept flashing. The reporters kept shouting questions. But Lily was done talking. She turned and walked toward the group waiting for her. Marcus, Emma, Rachel, Tommy, Steve, Patricia, all the people who'd become her family over the past year. Let's go home, she said. 3 months after the trial, Lily stood in the garage's small office staring at a plaque that had just arrived in the mail. What's that? Emma asked, peering over her shoulder. An award from the State Victims Advocacy Coalition. Lily ran her fingers over the engraved words. For outstanding courage in the pursuit of justice. That's amazing, Lily. It feels strange. Lily set the plaque down. I didn't do anything courageous. I was just trying to survive. That's what courage is. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Doing what you have to do even when you're terrified. He's right, Emma added. You're the bravest person I know. Lily looked at her sister, at the girl who'd grown into a young woman over the past year, who'd faced her own fears and come out stronger on the other side. I learned it from you, Lily said. That night when Derek was pounding on our door, you called 911 while I was falling apart. You kept us safe. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I just did what you taught me. And I did what Marcus taught me. And Marcus learned from Amy. And Amy learned from someone else. Lily pulled her sister into a hug. That's how it works. We pass it on. Generation to generation. Survivor to survivor. The phone rang. Marcus answered it, listened for a moment, then looked at Lily with an unreadable expression. It's for you. Lily took the phone. Hello. Ms. Carter. This is Sarah Chen from Channel 5 News. I'm producing a documentary about survivors of domestic violence, and I was hoping you'd consider participating. Lily's first instinct was to say no, to protect her privacy, her peace, her hard-won normalcy. But then she thought about all the women still trapped in their own nightmares, the women who needed to hear that escape was possible. What would you need from me? She asked. Just your story. In your own words. We want to show people what survival really looks like. Lily looked around the garage, at the plaques on the wall, at the photographs of Amy and Rachel and all the others, at Marcus and Emma watching her with quiet support. Okay, she said. I'll do it. The documentary aired 6 months later. Lily watched it with Marcus and Emma in their small apartment, the same apartment where she'd found threatening letters under the door, where she'd sat on the kitchen floor at 3 a.m., where she'd learned what it meant to fight back. The film told her story, but it told others too. Rachel's story. The stories of women Lily had never met. Stories of terror and escape and rebuilding. Stories that ended not with happily ever after, but with something more real. Today was hard, Tomorrow might be harder, but I'm still here. And that's enough. The documentary ended with Lily's face filling the screen. Her final words hung in the air. People ask me what I would say to the woman I was 2 years ago. The woman who was too afraid to leave, too afraid to ask for help, too afraid to believe things could be different. She paused, looking directly into the camera. I would tell her you're stronger than you know. The same strength that kept you alive in that relationship will carry you out of it. All you have to do is take one step, then another, and before you know it, you'll look up and realize you're free. The screen went dark. Emma wiped her eyes. That was incredible. It was honest, Lily said. That's all I wanted it to be. Marcus was quiet. When Lily looked at him, she saw tears on his weathered cheeks. Marcus, Amy would have loved you, he said, his voice rough. She would have been so proud to know you. Lily moved to sit beside him on the couch. She knows. Wherever she is, she knows. They sat together in the quiet apartment, 3 people bound by something stronger than blood. The family they'd built from scratch, the life they'd fought for and won. Outside, the sun was setting over Ashford. The same sun that had watched Lily's terrified dash through a parking garage. The same sun that had witnessed Derek's arrest, his trial, his sentencing. The same sun that rose every morning over a world that kept turning indifferent to human suffering and triumph alike. But inside this apartment, the world wasn't indifferent. Inside this apartment, there was love and healing and the fierce determination to keep fighting for something better. What happens now? Emma asked. Now, Lily smiled. Now we live. A year later, Lily graduated from community college with honors. She stood on the stage in her cap and gown looking out at the audience. Marcus sat in the front row wearing a suit that looked uncomfortable on his massive frame. Emma was beside him holding a camera. Tommy and Steve had driven down from Nashville. Patricia was there with her husband. Rachel had flown in from her new home in Seattle. The dean called her name. Lily Carter, graduating summa cum laude with a degree in social work. Applause filled the auditorium. Lily walked across the stage, accepted her diploma, and felt something shift inside her. This was real. This was happening. She'd done it. After the ceremony, everyone gathered at the garage for a celebration. The same garage where Lily had found work when Derek got her fired. The same garage where she'd learned what family really meant. Marcus raised a glass. To Lily, who showed all of us what courage looks like. To Lily, everyone echoed. Lily raised her own glass. To second chances, and to the people who make them possible. She looked around at the faces surrounding her. At Emma, her baby sister, who was heading to Vanderbilt in the fall. At Marcus, the Hell's Angel, who'd become the father she'd never had. At Rachel and Tommy and Steve and Patricia and all the others who'd played a part in her survival. They'd all come from broken places. They'd all carried scars that would never fully heal. But they'd found each other, built something together, created a family not from blood, but from choice. And that Lily realized was the greatest victory of all. Not defeating Derek, not winning the trial, not even graduating from college. The greatest victory was this moment, this family, this life, the life she'd fought for, the life she'd almost lost, the life she'd never give up again. Speech, Tommy called out. Give us a speech. Lily laughed. I'm not good at speeches. Try, Emma encouraged. Lily set down her glass and looked at the people she loved. A year and a half ago, I was running for my life. I had nothing. No job, no safety, no hope. I thought my story was going to end in a parking garage, alone and afraid. She paused, remembering that night. The footsteps behind her. The terror in her chest. The massive figure in leather who'd stepped forward when she had nowhere else to turn. But then I met a stranger who became a friend. And that friend became a family. And that family became everything. Her voice caught. She took a breath and continued. I learned something important this year. Something I want to share with anyone who's still fighting their own battles. She looked at Marcus, at Emma, at all of them. You are not alone. No matter how dark things get, no matter how trapped you feel, there are people who will help you. People who will fight for you. People who will stand with you until the storm passes. She raised her glass one final time. All you have to do is ask. The garage erupted in cheers. Marcus pulled her into a hug that lifted her off her feet. Emma joined in, then Rachel, then everyone else, until Lily was surrounded by the warmth of the people who'd saved her life. And in that moment, Lily Carter knew exactly who she was. Not a victim, not a survivor, not a story of what had been done to her. She was a woman who'd faced the darkness and chosen light. A woman who'd been knocked down and gotten back up. A woman who'd learned that strength wasn't about never being afraid, it was about being afraid and fighting anyway. She was Lily Carter, and she was finally free as Sishansa. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please share your favorite part in the comments below, and let me know which city you're watching from. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe to our channel. And remember, no matter what you're facing, you are never truly alone.